Good evening, I'm Victoria Sheehan. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. This weekend, authorities responded to a robbery and assault in Tuscaloosa, and they need your help finding the suspects responsible. Details in tonight's Crime Watch. According to Tuscaloosa Metro Homicide Unit's Lieutenant Kip Hart, it happened around 11 p.m. Friday at the 800 block of 32nd Avenue East. A 23-year-old woman told authorities that someone knocked on her door and asked for someone she didn't know. The door was then kicked in and two men armed with handguns entered the residence. They fled the scene without seriously hurting the woman. The suspects are described as two African-American males, one tall with average build and the other short with a heavy build. If you have any information on these suspects, call TPD's Crime Stoppers at 205-752-STOP. Well, the minutes when officials initially respond to emergencies can be some of the most critical, and some emergency officials say that's when drivers on the road cause problems. And WVUA's Emily Forrester got a chance to ride along with North Star paramedics today. And Emily, you actually got to experience some of the frustrations that emergency officials seem to come across.
That's right, Victoria. I got the chance to see firsthand what it's like when drivers don't do the right thing when an ambulance is coming up behind them. And officials I spoke with gave me some tips every driver needs to remember, even some tips you might not have thought of.
I would say about 40% of the time you have people that don't adhere to the rules.
But officials say it is as simple as pulling to the right.
Well, the rule is basically you want people to move over to the right-hand lane or possibly to the shoulder if necessary, and just slow down.
But advanced EMT James Allen and paramedic Chris Roberts say some drivers do the opposite.
A lot of the problems that we have is a lot of people want to move to the left. Sometimes people want to stop directly in front of us and slam on their brakes. It's not necessarily what we need.
And when drivers don't follow the rules,
we'll have people that will actually move into the open lane, and we end up blocking both the lanes at one time. Well, it causes us to have to slam on the brakes, to go around them, which puts us in more danger than is necessary.
Both Allen and Roberts say these tips could help emergency vehicles. Don't panic, don't brake too hard, and merge to the right.
If you're at an intersection, you're sitting still, best thing to do is just to stay where you are most of the time, and just let us find our way around the intersection. It's the best thing to do. Well, it's important because, we don't want to cause any wrecks with anyone else. We also want to make people aware that we're there.
It could be somebody's life at stake, and they could be the difference between saving a life or not.
North Star officials say University of Alabama game days caused some of the most difficult problems for emergency vehicles because of the heavy traffic. Victoria?
Thanks, Emily. The Tuscaloosa Preservation Society has ended its weekend fundraiser. The Van de Graaff Mansion on Greensboro Avenue was abuzz with activities today. There were silver and crystal items on sale, and champagne was served. Portions of the house had turn-of-the-century era table settings, and the Tuscaloosa County High School Jazz Band provided musical entertainment. Catherine Richter, the executive director for the Tuscaloosa County Preservation Society, says the turn-of-the-century theme for this weekend in particular was no coincidence.
That was not a coincidence with the 2-year anniversary of the tornado. We're in a period of rebuilding, and the same thing was going on at the turn of the century. It was a time of positive progression and new inventions and things like that. So we felt that it was appropriate this particular weekend.
For more information about the Tuscaloosa Preservation Society, you can go to www.historictuscaloosa.org. Well, tomorrow is the day the United States government recognizes as Law Day. The Bama Theater in downtown Tuscaloosa is celebrating it. They will have a special showing of the 1950s movie 12 Angry Men and holding a presentation from UA law professors. The show starts at 6:30 p.m. tomorrow and the doors open at 5:30. Welcome back. Several Alabama organizations are making huge progress when it comes to investigating and preventing bombs nationwide. First, federal agents are preparing themselves for the worst, and they're doing that by building their own bombs in Huntsville. Alina Machado explains why.
Inside this car is a small bomb, ready to burst. The force of the blast is captured by our cameras, each showing thousands of shards of glass and metal shooting into the air, evidence left for investigators to process. This demonstration is part of a training exercise run by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, better known as the ATF. Here at the Redstone Arsenal in Huntsville, Alabama, the ATF trains police and federal agents on how to investigate explosions. On this day, they're working with a group of State Department agents heading overseas. We can't show you their faces for security reasons.
These people are going where America's a target or where the host country may have targets. And in this situation, it enables them to go out onto a blast scene, not be overwhelmed by it.
The techniques they learn here are the same used by the hundreds of ATF agents who deploy to scenes like the Boston Marathon bombings and the fertilizer plant blast in West Texas.
That's the SCR. That's cool. Put that with the evidence in the bucket.
John Slover shows agents and officers how to dissect a bombing.
How do you stay ahead of the terrorists?
As debris is recovered or as devices are recovered and reconstructed or re-engineered, then you look at the tactics and techniques that they use and you learn from them.
The ATF says that most bombs involve simple gunpowder and an energy source like batteries.
What we may have seen 5 years ago may be different today, but 5 years from now it may be the same thing. So it's cyclical based on availability of products.
As this car bomb explodes, vital evidence needed to recreate the device scatters everywhere, including window glass and bomb fragments like these batteries and even these screws, a common technique used by bombers to inflict more serious injuries. We saw this most recently in Boston, where BBs and nails were hurled into the crowd.
A ½ to ¼ adapter.
Master Sergeant Mark Johnson is with the Air Force.
The theory is like everything that was there to begin with is still there. It's just in a lot smaller pieces, as is everything else. It's like, and we spent hours sifting through stuff, tearing the car apart.
Agents remove the windshield.
There you go. Real careful.
And totally strip the car down.
What happens inside these cars is when that blast hits, a lot of times it'll pick the carpet up off the floor. Debris will go underneath the carpet and it'll come back down on it. So we want to clean the top of the carpet and then go underneath it.
Ultimately, the goal, they say, is to find that one nugget, that one piece of evidence that may bring answers to a tragedy and hopefully prevent another.
Meanwhile, researchers at Auburn University say they're training the ultimate bomb-sniffing dogs. They say these canines can figure out there's a bomb before cops even realize a package is suspicious. Experts at the school call them vapor wake dogs.
Your standard bomb dog, your explosive detector dog, is primed on looking at an object, a backpack that's placed somewhere. A vapor wake dog's ability is to detect the odor coming off of that backpack on the back of someone as they carry it.
Amazing.
And to follow that plume of vapor.
Now, Auburn University professor Jim Floyd says vapor wake dogs can follow a plume or bomb vapor stretching several football fields in length. It's a skill so unique the university hopes to patent it. Right now, the school has its own breeding program for these special bomb-sniffing dogs.